God, that felt so real. I need to call somebody. If you've been keeping up with Sacred Sound Expressions, my brother here needs absolutely no introduction at all. If you're new here, please help me welcome returning guest Qalani Benjamin to the show.
I wanted to talk to you about the power of a name, because we both have our chosen names, and then to tie that into the human design and our topic of the day that we talked about. But so I read a quote yesterday that said, a person's name is the first prophetic word spoken over their life.
Mm.
Woo. Woo-wee.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
Yeah, that's real heavy. So a long time ago, I looked up, so my birth name is Rachel. And I looked that up, and in Hebrew, it means a female sheep, which is fucking hilarious. The universe,
Yes.
the universe likes to fuck with me, like that. Like me and the universe have a good rapport, a humor, like we have a good joke. We play jokes on each other.
And you take that.
And in the Christian Bible, which is the person I was named after, Rachel was the third wife to some man, but she was the favorite. So a win is a win.
Oh, there you go. A win is a win.
I mean, female sheep, though.
Yeah.
That one.
It dig in a little bit.
Yeah. So I renamed.
Is that because of your idea of sheep? You know what I'm saying? Is that the only reason? Because if you were a child and didn't know nothing about a sheep,
they're amazing. They're amazing creatures. They're fluffy. They're soft. They're cuddly.
There you go.
Okay, so when I was 25, I renamed myself Vishuddha after I had this life-altering ego death. And Vishuddha is just that name change is just a symbol of me speaking my own prophecy over my own life versus the prophecy my father spoke over my life when I was a babe. So that's my name story. What's your name story?
So Qalani, interestingly, when was it? 2019-ish, going into 2020, it sort of just popped in. My birth name is Anthony Hawkins. And I've looked into a whole lot of, name science and all that stuff, and seen a lot of meanings. But I had a sister who's a metaphysician, and she does a name breakdown, and like, even with all my diving and digging, the way she broke this thing down was just like, yo, I mean, because she tied each one of these names, they ironically are connected in a way that it ties to the hawk, and it ties to the Scottish rites and Freemasonry and all that kind of stuff. And so there was a sister that I connected with who lives only 30 minutes from here, but I connected with her through a conference in Maryland. And she came across the Kabbalion name change system, and I hadn't been thinking about names in forever. And then with this Open G Center that we talked about before, realizing that when I saw this Open G Center, this is this little internal, I won't say struggle, but back and forth about, who am I? Not on a big grand scheme, because I know I am, but on the mundane in the eyes of society. Oh, well, he's a barber, he's a builder, he's a healer, he's the healthy guy, he all these different titles. I'm like, yeah, I'm all of that, but how do I put myself out there as
Yeah.
the thing that people need from me? So she came along and she was like, she found this guy, Caballero name change system, and then I ended up connecting with this guy who is really, really precise in that it doesn't just go with the name of the vibration, but it goes into each letter, how it corresponds with your birth chart. And it is not about making it perfect, because each letter has a particular vibration. Some are considered negative, some are positive, but that doesn't mean get all of the red or negative out of your name.
Right.
It's about how it harmonizes with your birth chart, right? And so when he did the analysis on my name, it was over
on
Zoom.
your birth name or Qalani?
My birth name.
Okay.
My birth name, because we hadn't got to the creating the Qalani Benjamin. He went into it was over Zoom because he's in the UK. And when we got on, the first thing he was like, phew, I said, I know. You know what I'm saying? Because I know where the shoe was coming from. I had no idea what he was talking about, but because I know my life, right? And he went into, he said around between the ages of 9 and 13 or something like that, he was like, you had a lot going on. And I'm like, yeah, this was when my parents separated. And myself, my mom, and my sister, we moved to where I live currently. And, and that's like from transitioning from or the middle school and high school, all of that, all of that right there.
It's the ugly duckling years.
Right. Like everything you can imagine.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because not only was it the fact that my parents were going through that, which it doesn't mean that if my name was something different that none of that would happen, but how it affects me.
Yeah.
And so my last name, Hawkins, and then my mother's maiden name's Hawk. So there's like this double Hawk energy in my.
Who are you, sir? Who are you?
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Jesus.
Yeah, and for real. And and so in that Hawk, the W and the H are considered, there's considered negative letters, not as bad. But how they aligned with my birth chart, it created a lot of stress in my world. And it's not just the Hawkins. How it works is each letter has a certain number of years that it vibrates in your chart. So say the letter B only is there for 2 years, whereas the letter K might be 7. I don't know. I'm just saying. And so after that, it rotates to the next letter in the name. So, but the Hawk and Hawkins are overlapped. So not only was it the stress in this one, it's stress in the other one. And during that time that he was talking about, they were like, boom, right in your face. So the whole idea was to create a more balanced name. And we went through, like, I picked up on the whole system like very quick because I love all of that stuff, as you know.
What's the name of the system?
It's a Kabbalion from the Kabbalah system. And realizing this, the sister who introduced me to it was even going into the Bible, because I never really got into reading the Bible like that. I just followed the common thread in spirituality, whether it's through Islam or whatever. And she was like, in the Bible, everyone who, when they changed their name, their life blew up, like in a massive way. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And this was not like an uncommon practice. It's still not changing the name. So,
I just
come.
hold on, sacred pause.
Okay. All right. Pause.
Because I was 25. That's
Mm-hmm.
when I think it's frontal lobe fully develops or something like that.
Okay.
I felt that happen to me. So basically, like
Mm,
whenever the frontal lobe fully develops, you become like better at making healthy decisions for yourself. And
okay.
for humans, most of it is like 25, 26, something like that.
Gotcha.
Um, so I felt that shift. And that's also, oh, this is, I'm sorry, keep talking.
No, it's
I'm
all
not
good.
sorry, but I just had to take a pause to soak that in
Mm-hmm.
because it hit on so many different levels. Like I spent my 25th birthday alone in Miami, and like it was just that whole week was just crazy. So it was like adding it all together in my
Mm-hmm.
mind. Holy
Mm-hmm.
shit.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
It,
so
you were having those BOLs and didn't even realize it. So that's the beauty in life, in living life. Because I think the more we get spiritual, woke, all of that stuff, then we move away from the thing that was us living in that because
yeah,
it's already in us naturally. You know what I mean? Like when I think about the magical things that happened in my life way before The Secret and all of that, it was labeled as such. It's what we were doing. Like I would
yeah,
imagine or immerse myself and create these things in my life. And then somewhere along the line, I got all, up in here in my heads, got super spiritual and then I was like, wait a minute, reading all these books. I was like, no, I'm getting away from me. I'm going into the books. I'm becoming a regurgitator. No, 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 no. My whole thing is to be the living example of what it is that's coming through me. So then I got back into my childlike self and started having fun again. But I digress. So the Qalani, going back into that real quick, that name in particular just kind of popped in, and the way it's spelled, Qalani, popped in, but it was so I had different variations of it as well because what we were doing was finding the overall numbers that
mm,
would be most harmonious and individual numbers that would like how they would rotate and the letters because you could have something that's seemingly this positive thing and then you get into a certain part of your life and these two letters line up right here which might create a little something you don't want
yeah,
to deal
yeah.
with. So
So it's being
um
like strategic with the name choice versus like for me, mine was intuitive, but I guarantee you,
mhm,
if I go look
mhm.
mine up, it's gonna match well.
Yeah, exactly. Because and that's the whole thing about the Kalani. That was intuitive because I don't know where the hell that popped in from.
Right.
But during the course of trying to blend all these other things together, I was trying this. I was like, and he would give me certain options, and even the spelling of it different ways just didn't feel right. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's got to feel good. You know what I mean? You have
Mm,
to feel it at your core, and
mm,
because you're writing it, you're speaking it, you're hearing it, and if it and so I got to this place where I was feeling stuck on it because now I was going up here trying to make it make sense. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Versus, okay, this is the thing that dropped in, and even the middle name, then the letter G, like the full name was orchestrated in a way I don't. It's about documenting it
Yeah.
and putting it into the ethers. Uh, and even now, there's still a little, I don't say conflict, but there's still a little back and forth
Mhm.
because of that. And I'm saying because of that open G center being able to have all these different identities. And when I earlier this year did my first ayahuasca ceremony, and and one of the medicine women, not from the thing, but who we work with, she was saying you got Qalani is the God within you, the heart, the center, and then the Anthony is the one that has been the mind and the one that's taking charge. Oh, well, we got to make this money. We got to go over here. We can't do this and we can't do that.
Yeah.
And just her saying that, even though I know these two are there, it made me feel more whole in those two different names, because it's like, oh, I see what's happening now. It's not, I'm not battling back and forth. I didn't have a name to the feeling that I was feeling. I didn't say, oh, this is Qalani and this is Anthony, but it makes sense.
Right.
You know,
No,
because
I've
Anthony.
had that same. Yeah, I've had that same battle. And what soothes me is just knowing, like, a name is just really a sound to get my attention, because if everybody was called me, everybody would turn around.
Right.
But B, I don't have to choose. Like, you don't understand how instrumental you were in me understanding that lesson, is that you don't have to choose between. You don't. Society wants you to believe that so fucking bad, but you do not have to choose. You really don't. So I am Rachel and I am Vishuddha, and probably whatever name I'm going to have when I'm 50. Like, every 25 years, I'm just going to change my name because I can. I'm practicing free will.
There you go. There you go.
You know, speaking of free will, it's not really a thing, but my 15-gram trip showed me exactly how much control over my mind that I have. And it was like, yeah, let me show you. Let me just show you. Think you're in control, huh? Like, and I got to see firsthand how many things are currently influencing our decisions. The outfit you picked out this morning, the food you ate, the people you're attracted to, where you live, like, all of these decisions are being influenced not just physically by the things around us, but energetically, spiritually. There are non-physical energies at work around you right now, influencing the fuck out of you. And I got to see firsthand what was going on.
When did you do the 15?
For my birthday, so like 3 weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Just recently.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Right after, I want to say right after we last spoke, like a couple days later. It was, and that's why I haven't done my trip report yet, because I'm still like digesting, and like it's like, I always refer to downloads or trips as like you receive a block of like hieroglyphics. You receive a block of information, and then you have to go and like process.
The integration is the most important part. Yeah.
But yeah, how was it integrating after ayahuasca, Mama Aya?
How is it? Because
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I don't think it's ever
Yeah.
A stopping point. And for me, it was a beautiful, I'll say it's a beautiful transition. So I haven't even touched the mushroom since the 10 grams. And that was over a year ago. I think it was 2021, maybe 2020. And because I did all that by myself.
Yeah.
And not that I wasn't listening to, oh, you need to have a sit of this and that, but I know from dealing with self-awareness and the healing space and all that, but I know my instrument very well.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't and don't do things that I don't feel comfortable doing. Like, I had no clue where I was going and what was going to happen, but I know myself. And although I do have people that I connect with and can talk to, and I did, a lot of it was me going deeper in here, trying and asking a lot deeper questions, and then reaching out to people, because I couldn't just reach out to just regular folk.
Yeah, right.
But Mother Aya,
Hmm.
this is why I love ceremony, and not my ceremony with myself, but ceremony being a receiver, like a full receiver.
Right.
Like if I do ceremony myself, I'm not a full receiver. Well, until I get into,
You will
whatever it's
be.
taking.
You will be.
I will be. But this
Hmm.
was such a beautiful experience, from before ceremony to way after ceremony. It was so, from the outside world, listening to everybody else, they were like, oh, I was battling for, I was doing the work and battling. I said, but I really wasn't.
Right.
I was absolutely gone. Like, I was so present, and what was happening wasn't me fighting. But that's how we interpret what we see when somebody's going through whatever. And I was just like observing, like really, really observing, even in being in it. Like, you can be in a dream and you're feeling and experiencing and doing the things, but you're looking at someone else, but you're the one feeling and experiencing the someone else you're looking at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's the same as watching a movie. Sometimes you can put yourself as the character, or you could sit back and just watch.
Exactly. And so that's what I feel like with this. The integration part is watching my life unfold in these very subtle ways. And there's like, I can feel my mouth is watering. There's this richness to the very little things, even incorporating what I heard, which I love. And I think I told you before, is yes, please, more of that. You know what I'm saying? That right there, not just, oh, I'm saying the words, but when little things happen, like the lights are all green going down the street, or I run into this person on this day at this particular time, and there's no freaking way that this was the same day a year ago. You know what I'm saying? And then I run into you twice. And then I say, yes, please, more of that, because of the feelings that are coming up in me, in my whole core. It's like, yes, please, more of that. And when I say the yes, please, more of that, and I get it, like literally in a few minutes, that shit is beautiful. And so I love that unfolding. And then the contrast of me falling back a little bit into when I feel some of that residual reactivity, it's very quick and like, okay. And I'm not allowing it to take me somewhere out of where I want to be. I can observe it a lot easier. You know what I mean?
That sounds like Gate 20, contemplation, or the now. I was reading it this morning, and I threw my phone across the room. I'm serious. I'm serious. Let me look at the camera. I'm so serious. Like, it was talking about, so there's basically, for those that don't know, there's like a self version, a high vibe, and there's a low vibe, or a not self, when you're not operating in your authority or whatever. So it was basically when I'm in high vibe, I'm in the present moment, and I can literally bathe in it. Like, I can literally feel, I call it the radiance of God, the light of God. It's the presence of awareness. To me, it is a physical sensation. That's how connected I am. I can physically feel it touch me. And
what is that gate again?
Gate 20.
Gate 20.
What is and basically, when I'm operating in high vibe, I'm observing from such a wide perspective. I know the exact right moment to strike the hammer, like to act, which is so true. Like, it's so true. Like, the things that I've been able to experience in my life, because I knew what moment to make a move. Crazy. And when I'm in my low vibe or my not self, I'm impatient, I'm frustrated, I don't know what to do, I don't know what's going on, and I'm pissed about everything and I'm blaming everybody else except for myself. Now,
Mm.
when I read that, it reminded me, I think of the conversation we had yesterday. I basically, I think it was, what was it? I want to know what it was. It was, oh, I was basically telling you how I'm just focusing on today because I don't know what's happening in my life right now. Like shit, every time I'm like, ooh, I want to be a jewelry maker. Then I start making jewelry. Like, oh, well, this is fun, but I don't want to do it anymore.
Right.
Um, so I keep experiencing this, and I've been this way for like my whole life. And I'm like, God damn, pick something, please. But that's
Mm.
never going to happen.
Right.
And making peace with that's how my life is going to be. And when I expressed this frustration to you, you gave me no sympathy. You went straight to solutions. And I was like, "Ugh."
Yo,
But
that's
yeah,
funny.
yeah, go ahead.
So how did that feel to you? Because I tend to do that, like go straight in, even if it's not solutions. It's like I'm gonna ask questions, like, so what? You know?
Essentially that's exactly what I needed to hear to get out of my not self and get back into self. It was a
Mm.
question. Like that questions are like my mind operates in questions, and that's I ask great questions. But it made me think of like we need to develop a code word or a code phrase for when I'm or when you're also being in your not self. You can just
Mm.
say like you're not acting like yourself right now. And
Mm.
that's like a word to me to go check in with my sacral authority and whatever else I need to check in with to make sure I'm operating from a place of presence.
Mm. Yeah, that's good. I mean, this is the beauty in the human design is that as we start to not only learn or remember our design and then really embrace it, we also get to learn each other's design and then see, oh, those things that just don't add up in our design because it's not who we are. And we're like, oh, I now we can literally communicate with ease. There's no like, oh, no, we don't have to do all that because that shit
Mhm.
used to drive me crazy. Like if I could, I literally am sitting back like blown away, like what is happening right now? Because number one, I don't know the language to use in this situation that will be best for you
Yeah.
in communication because I don't know your particular design and how you operate because I see it on the completely other side.
Mhm.
You see what I'm saying? But when we understand all that, now it's like, oh, okay. I don't need to come at this time with that.
Yeah.
That's my reactionary thing to whatever trigger. Oh,
Yeah.
now I can sit back and observe myself in the situation
Mhm.
and then say, okay, well, you know,
Yeah, I
now,
recently asked my sister what like the kid's birth time so that I can look up their human design chart. And then
mm,
literally the next day, Instagram recommended me a book for how to navigate with your children on human design. I was like, you bitches be listening. Anyways,
yeah.
I'm really curious to get into their information to see like what's the best way to communicate with them.
Mm,
Um, 'Cause kids are hard, bro.
mm, mm,
Fuck.
mm,
Especially like the teenagers and when you feel so irrelevant to their life,
mm,
and what they care about and what they've got going on. And I know that human design can help me have a better relationship with the kids, and just we should have like mandatory tattoos
Mandatory tattoo,
of our
like human
human
design
design.
tattoos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like at birth, they like stamp it somewhere and
Mm-hmm.
then it grows with you. Because for real, I feel like human design can change the world. And really, I feel like human design is just a birth chart on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
Because the birth chart tells me the same thing my human design chart tells me, which is I am a born leader. I have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of fucking fire. I have a lot of power. And I'm supposed to be bossing people around. The problem is when I operate in my not self, the bossy people don't want to be bossed around by a person like them. They want to be
Right.
bossed around by a person when I'm in my authority. So,
Mm-hmm. True that. That whole I think like, you know, when you get the fundamentals in human design, knowing those basic things, your energy type, your authority, your profile, um, and your determination or what your like strongest sense. I say that strongest sense because it's key in like my strongest sense is smell, which makes all the sense in the world because it's directly tied to the intuition. And that going back to in
mm,
conjunction with my sacral authority is like a whole, it makes sense why I've always been, I'm doing this. And everybody knows, like, if I say I'm doing something, there's no, my mom, like, even from a child, this is what I'm doing. Like, it is no, you can't talk me out of it
yeah.
kind of thing. It's that like hardwired, like boom, boom, boom,
Hmm.
until you get dispersed and blended into society. And then it starts to, there's a little doubt here, a little doubt there. And then you be like, man, and you get yourself into all these different things. No, I love human design for that because it reaffirmed it in me like, no, this is it. So it gets really fucking easy
Yeah.
to say, no, thank you. Like uh the brother I'm working with, who we help each other in whatever projects we got going on. He was like, he kept asking about this week and would I be able to help him with the stairs and et cetera, et cetera. I was like, yeah, I know, because I had some things I was waiting on for another project. Well, then the weekend came, I was like, yeah, I can help you with that Monday. Then Sunday he said he got, he tested positive for COVID.
Mm.
So, and then the next thing was, you think you would be able to, and already as I'm reading it before it got to the end, I'm like, no.
No.
But he said you would think you'd be able to do, can you do that solo? I said I'd rather not. I mean, and it was just, there was no even, whereas in the past I would kind of wrestle with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
No.
nope,
Nope. And
absolutely
it's
not.
not personal. Like I
Right.
would wrestle with it and it would be like, oh, I hope they don't take it personally, or like being afraid of how they might feel. But human design, yeah, it helped me take that out because how you react to my no is none of my fucking business.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go on in a mental loop and you start assuming why I said no instead of just asking me why did I say no or whatever, that's on you, bruh. Like I'm
Mm-hmm.
done taking responsibility for someone else's emotions. I'm fucking over
Church.
it.
Church. I'm telling you, that's a word. Because here's the thing. Even what you just said, if you go on that whole mental thing about how to, is it that they're actually doing that, or is it what we're thinking that they're thinking?
Yeah, that's the point. And they might not even go. Their brain might not even work like that. Like,
At all.
or ooh, what if because we think that's what they're gonna do, that's what they do. But if we wouldn't have thought that, it
All
wouldn't
right,
have
Oracle.
happened. I'm just
All
saying. I'm just
right.
saying. It makes sense.
Yeah,
Um, but I
yeah.
want to go. What do you say? What do you
Oh,
say?
I said yeah. No, I just said
Um,
yeah.
um, I want to get into your perspective of the feminine masculine, I don't want to call it a debate. It's just really a hot topic right now.
Yeah.
What is femininity? What is masculinity? Because I recently posted a video on my Instagram where I worked on a project with my little brother and my dad, putting a room together divider. I mean,
Okay.
I didn't say that in order, but you understood what I said,
Yeah, I got what you, yeah. A room together divided. Yeah. That's, yeah.
Oh God, stop it. The kids got me congested. Don't send your kids to public school because they're germ factories. But
Okay.
so I said that's to not don't make me laugh because it hurts. Um I had this project with my brother and my dad, which are like the only, never mind, they're not the only masculines in my life, but they're the main masculines in my life. Like they're the ones that mean the most to me. Their opinion, like if I need an opinion from a man, I'm gonna go to my brother or my dad.
Mm.
Um, we're putting together this room divider, and I decided to let them take the lead and not boss them around like I usually do with everything else.
Yo, go ahead.
So, as soon as we got started, the inside of me is screaming. I can
Mm.
literally feel a fire burning. Like,
Mm.
say something, say something. And I'm like, nope, I'm just chilling. I'm letting them make decisions. And I realized they hopped straight into doing action. They didn't
Mm.
think about it first. They
Mm.
just start picking up pieces and start putting shit together. Um,
Mm.
and I was like, oh, that's why we're different because I observed first. I
Mm.
just wanted to be with the equipment versus just immediately grabbing and going.
Mm.
Um,
Mm.
so when I see them doing things that are gonna make this project take longer, I my insides burn because
Mm.
I know that we can be operating more efficiently. So I realized femininity is not about suppressing that feeling.
Mm.
It's about delivering that in a way that the masculine can receive it.
Mm.
Um, and it's going to differ from man to man, but I know how to talk to my dad and my brother, so I compared it to when I watch the kids. Like
Mm.
when they're learning something new, like making eggs or something, some in certain moments I'm completely hands off and I let them do it on their own.
Mm.
In certain things like flipping a pancake, I kind of guide their hand just a little bit so that
Mm.
they can get used to the motion. And there's other things where if it looks like they're going to hurt themselves, I completely step in.
Mm.
And that temperance, that alchemy, that flow, how much flow to give, when, or nurturing, is to me how I define feminine energy.
Mm. Yeah, that's so. And there was a lot in everything that you were saying just now
Yeah.
too, because so I think one of the things that ends up happening is in the societal programming, it's from a place of separation. So we're saying masculine and feminine,
Yeah.
and we have yet to integrate it as we are that, all of that.
Yeah.
Because in what you were doing, you were both masculine and feminine,
Hmm.
even dealing with males. So you got men, which are character roles. You have males, which are just genders.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with masculine or feminine.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because masculine, feminine is simply a delineation of energy. You're describing energy that is moving in this direction versus the energy that's moving in that direction. And it's that simple. So with your brother and father, for example, the stuff that was burning in you is part of your design because as you were saying it, I'm thinking it was from what is that gate? It might be gate 21, or it could be like the gate of correction.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot which one that is, because in what I do, I like to get in and jump in, but I also have to sit back and observe the scene. So even like when I'm going, my sister just texted me a little while ago, hey, how much do you charge for? It doesn't work like that. Mm-hmm. I need to go see it, observe it, look at it, and then all of that comes up through my authority to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how we can do it. Because how I see is I can see the way to best utilize resources. But that might not work for the brother who I work with, who's just like a bull in a china shop, ready to go boom, boom, boom. So that frustration, that anxiousness that I feel when he's ready to roll and do all of this, it's not that masculine and masculine are butting heads. It's the ability to observe where your masculine energy is coming up, and then how can you utilize the balance of that? Like you're not necessarily, like you said, you don't suppress the feminine, like, but that's not suppressing the feminine.
Yeah.
Because that was masculine energy coming up. And it's not like you're trying to be masculine or direct a certain thing. You can even direct from the feminine. Of course, that's what y'all do, is direct when you really, really go into that. It's about finding the creative ways to express it, I would think, versus what we've been programmed to do. We've been programmed, not just women, men and women. Everybody has been massively programmed to be masculine. Everybody has.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we think that's the thing to do, is to move, to move, to move. So for men in a role, hyper masculine role, trying to be extra, is detrimental, because now you're not even naturally harmonizing. And for women, is detrimental because you're suppressing the feminine. We're all suppressing feminine energy. Men from a different perspective, like, oh, it's weak, is this and that. And women from the perspective of, I need to be more masculine in order to show up in the world. And none of it's true.
It's hard to trust that.
Yeah.
I'll be taken care of. You feel me? It's hard to trust that in a world like this. But if you look at my life, I'm literally taken care of. So it's like, I keep thinking, my brain keeps wanting to plan for the future.
Mm.
And that's not how my design is. I feel like that's not even how feminine energy is meant to be moving. Like, it's just to be present and trust and know in today. But that is so counterintuitive. That is not the society we live in. But if you travel, you really, like, other societies are like this, especially with their women. Like, women in other societies do not have these American girl problems.
Nope.
Not at all.
That is the one thing that before I didn't have to even go anywhere. I've always known, like, this is why I wanted to travel as soon as I possibly could, because I know the shit that we were seeing on TV and in social media, all that stuff was bullshit. And especially the people who think they know because they're watching the news. Oh, well, this is happening over there. It's like, that shit is not fucking happening, bro. It is absolutely not. You're seeing this, and the picture is bigger than anything that you can ever imagine, but you're taking this and saying this is the truth. So it creates a reality in your world of, this is whatever that is. And so now wherever you go, you're going to get whatever you believe. And then I go over to Nicaragua, and based on your upbringing, and I'm traveling with a lot of middle-aged or baby boomer Caucasians. And I'm going over there feeling like love all at home. And I even remember on the way to, because I was going with Habitat for Humanity, and we were going there to build, and And I remember traveling to the work site and hearing some of the conversations about, oh, this poverty and that poverty. And something in me just said, listen, when did you see anybody in that type of energy or mindset that we've met thus far?
That's fine.
Never. You did not see it. It was all love, like 10,000.
Yeah.
Oh, Mikasa, Sukasa, it was hugging, kissing, all of that stuff. That is the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
You got this idea of, because you have this phone, you have this TV and all this bullshit that you somehow, but you're living in poverty in your spirit. These people, I never felt none of that. I was absolutely in love when I went over there. I promise you, so I had to say something, because I'm like,
God, I can feel it coming off you. Makes me want to cry. Whew.
Absolutely. So I when it's something that deep at my core that I feel, it would do everybody a disservice if I didn't say that. I don't care what you believe, but that's bullshit. Don't even bring that into my space, because I am going to correct that, because I know what this is and what I feel. I might not even say the correct words and all that stuff. As long as I'm speaking from here, just like you say, you just felt it. This shit came up just now because I went back there.
Yeah,
and that's how I was
you
talking
really
to them.
did. You really did. I felt it.
So,
Well,
yeah.
that made me think of like how I said, trusting that the now, I'll always be taken care of in the now. It just reminded me of that, like you said, like it's you're what you're physically experiencing is this. It's just you've been programmed to think it was this. What I'm physically experiencing is abundance and protection and provision, but I've been programmed to think that this is gonna go away, or you know what I'm saying, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That is the transition of going from the heart to the head. The interesting part of it, we know we've been programmed because this is the leader. This is the center of our body. In any martial arts, you're protecting your center. You do this, but this is where everything moves from. And when you move from here, you're stable. You're in harmony. You're not off balance. So now, if I'm moving from this space, of course, I'm going to be more powerful than if I'm leading with my head, because I tend to fall over if I'm leading with my head. But that's the shift.
It is quite large. I'm just saying. It would make sense.
Yes. So that's the daggone the shift. And even when you look at how this whole structure, how it's set up, you look at every state, every country, there's a heart and there's a brain. Mm-hmm. The heart is the place where the culture is, and that everything goes down. The place like New Orleans, New Orleans, because that's the culture, that's the heart of it. That's where the stuff, the joy, the activity. Then you have the brain, is where all of the politics and legislation goes down. That's the capital of wherever it is. It's the same thing. It's not meant to be what moves you. It's meant to govern. It's a governing thing. Government does not mean control. Government means like the riverbanks. There's this, and the flow is happening. Yeah. It's not controlling the flow. The flow is happening regardless. Right. So if we can get back to our flow of consciousness and feeling the flow, then even if it's for this moment, because that's all there is this moment. So when we feel that, feel a little bit more. They feel a little bit more, because it's all them little pieces that just is like, oh shit, oh,
And that
No.
comes though with an appreciation, like you said earlier, an appreciation for the little things. Like, this is
100.
my favorite time of the year because
Really?
all of my dad's children are home in one house. And this is
Mm.
just typically the time where we would all be together during
Yeah.
Christmas, Um, so this has always been my favorite time of the year only because of that, though.
Mm.
So it's like, while I truly feel in my heart this is my last Christmas with my family because
Mm.
it's time for me to go off and like have my own life. Um, so I've been hyper focused on little itty bitty tiny memories and documenting all of it just for me. Like, my niece lost her tooth and we made brownies and watched a Christmas movie 2 days in a row. And like, oh God, don't cry. I just an appreciation and knowing that what I'm experiencing is me. This
Mm.
not necessarily even the people, but that feeling.
Mhm.
That feeling of appreciation and like the richness, like that is who I am. That is where
Mhm.
I come from. That is the very makeup of my being.
Mm.
And it's just so awesome to be here. But I have this trust that this feeling will provide will always provide for me. And I keep doing shit like getting jobs and trying to do things to make money.
Mhm.
Um, because but also I want things. I want to do things. So it's like I feel like I just have
Mhm.
this misunderstanding of money, but I'm
Mhm.
right there, like I'm right there. What's the human design chart say about money?
Um, I'm sure there's a lot about money in the human design. The interesting part of it is, I mean, I feel you 100% on that. And there's a fine line of because of with social media, we hear so much of, you got to put in this work, you got to do that. All the gurus and all the people, and you hear conflicting things. Do what you love, and you never work a day in your life. That kind of stuff, which is facts. Um, then you start to get into you see the bank account because now you're paying attention to the bank account and all that stuff. But when have we really fully dove into that, like all of that? Like, there's so many things. I was When I was saying earlier through the message, uh how the storytelling aspect, because we both have that in our design, is the story keeper. And I think about all of these experiences. I need to have experiences like that because the shit is fun to me, even telling those stories. And then I've even thought about, I'm looking at social media and seeing all these people telling stories through these different ways, like video and photography. I love making music, photography, video. I love all of that stuff. But then it goes over into that money thing. Oh, I need to go over and do this job. So the struggle is and I have the gator struggle too, by the way, is the getting over
Because
away.
my mind went to like the struggle bus. I'm like, y'all don't even know about that struggle gate though.
Right. That struggle gate. Why? I'm trying to tell you. Um, is getting away from, I have to do this
Yeah,
in order to make money
yeah,
because this is the thing that I know right now. There's a sense of fear there. And not the fear that, because listen, I can fucking work. That's easy. That shit is nothing to me. So I don't like to hear when people, oh, you're lazy, not talking to me, but I'm just saying when
yeah,
people, like,
yeah,
no, that's not the thing. Because most of the people that are struggling work like fuck.
yeah,
They work like way
yeah,
harder than anybody that's actually making multi-million. And maybe not anybody, because some of the people still do that kind of work. But Really? Getting up and working a job that you don't like for 12, 14 hours and then trying to go to another one and then doing something. That shit is work.
Mm-hmm.
You hear me? And living with the fact that you know you're greater, not to demean anything that you're doing because it's all necessary, but you feel it in your core for something greater, but you just don't know like where to start, where to go. I'm now speaking directly for me. It's like it's okay. It's almost that whole identity piece for me. Like, what do I do? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, guess what? If I could do this, well, you can. Okay, what do I need to do? You know what I'm saying? There's always a thing. But if I just live it like I've been doing, and the hardest part, like you've been saying, is the trusting, establishing the trust. Because if I really, really look at it, all of the magical things, the big stuff that has come in my life, of course I was working a job and I was doing that. So the part that is the thing that would hinder my energy is not having enough money. Oh, that was taken care of because I was working. I had paycheck coming in, right? So then there was no worry. So now when I do get to the point where I'm not necessarily imagining, but I'm putting myself into, oh man, dang, man, I can't wait to have to get my motorcycle. And I'm speaking this language. This is before knowing any of this, the secret and all that stuff. It's like, oh man, it's just because it was fun. It was fun to put myself on the bike and I'll be gone, going, hitting the curves and doing all this and spinning out, going to the track and doing all that. And guess what? Magically, because I didn't have the money to get the bike, but somehow the shit just boom, 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 boom. All of the dots lined up and I got a bike. Same thing when I went to Nicaragua for the first time. Listen, I promise you, I was brand new at Habitat. They had no construction experiences, but they hired me. I already knew I'd get a job because I loved volunteering. I went, and like within months, they were talking about doing a trip to a Spanish-speaking country. At the time, it was El Salvador. I'm going.
Right.
I
No
already
question
knew
about it. Yeah.
There was absolutely no question. So I'm asking the executive director. I said, so what about that trip to Nicaragua? I was bugging her. Like, she was like, yeah, we'll let you know and all this stuff. I was like this, like, oh shit, I'm going. I didn't have no money. I was like, wasn't even trying to figure out how to make no money. Fuck that. I was going.
Right.
And one day,
God.
executive director comes to me and says, hey, can I see you in my office? And was like, so what would keep you from going to Nicaragua? I'm like, she's like, well, if that wasn't the issue, I'm like, I'm gone.
Right. Nothing.
They paid for the whole thing. She went to some of the old retired volunteers and got them to donate to pay for my flight. The shit was completely paid for.
And it happens like that every single time.
Every single time.
And it's just, I just don't understand how come after all this time, why am I still battling this same distrust? Why?
There's so many distractions to keep us in distrust. There's so many reasons that we see in front of us day in and day out.
You have to be crazy to have the trust. You have to be a bit psychopath.
Yeah.
A little delusional, a little, but then that's my main argument when that fucking sound went trending on TikTok. Like, be delusional, girl. No, it's not delusion though, because the vibrational reality is real. Belief in the vibrational reality is not a delusion. So,
no, I find it interesting that we can talk about the vibration and the law of attraction and do all these things, and it seems so way over here to some people, and then other people get it. But at the same time, and because it applies all over the board, our whole life, people actually have faith and trust and belief in the placebo effect. I'm like, but bro, so you mean to tell me you believe that, but then you get up from there and then, oh, I hope this works out, or you got this pain and you go pop this pill and do all this stuff. And like, there's a disconnect somewhere in that, because I don't think most of us really integrated. That's the word I think it is. It's not fully integrated. It's still up here. It's still just an idea floating around.
Yeah. It's not real.
It's not real. Yeah.
Well,
but the more we have conversations like this and we can talk and share our experiences, the more real it becomes. But
I'm glad you said that, because I was literally just thinking in my head, me and this man are going to create something really fucking beautiful together. And I feel like I'm getting pieces, but it still needs time for the full picture to kind of come together. But like what I shared with you on that voice note, like I'm getting pieces, but I have to remember to let the seed fucking grow. Stop. Don't dig it up. Don't leave it alone. It don't need you. Remember your temperance and water it when it needs to be watered. But don't get so impatient or frustrated or scared of the future that you dig up your little babies. They're so cute.
Yeah.
Like they're cute little babies. Just appreciate and admire the chubby cheeks on the baby. Like
admire the chubby cheeks and go do something else. That's the best way to remedy the fucking around with something that that you don't need to. Like, you ain't got to pick that. Let that cut go over here and do this work and do that work. Next time you look up, like, oh shit, I didn't even realize I had,
And it's crazy. That's the exact advice I give to my niece. Because my brother's home, which means the Xbox is home, and the girls want to play Minecraft and Roblox and Fortnite or whatever. So while my brother's like logging in and updating the games, my niece physically can't sit still. She's like, oh my God, like she's bouncing all over the place. She's reaching for the controller. And I'll tell her, stop, take a breath. Wait until he hands you the controller. Do not try to take it out of his hand, and find something else to do. So like we'll find little activities for her to do until the game is ready. So it's like, take your own advice, woman.
Yeah.
And parenting these little girls, I'm parenting myself.
Hey, that's something. That's it right there. That's it. Because somebody said that we're really the adult that we needed in our own lives as a child.
Yep. Yeah.
Which is just a powerful thing to even think of. How I saw some guy breaking down the numbers of how many ancestors you had to create you. Like,
yeah, you told me about that last time.
400 some 4,000, I don't know how many people.
Yeah, it makes me wonder though. Let's say my dad was the type of father he needed. And now I'm going to become the parent that I needed. And then my child is going to become the parent they needed. But I'm like, I just want to be the parent that my child needs. Like, I would like to end the cycle and just be the person my child needs me to be versus being the type of parent I wish I had.
Right. I got you.
That's difficult.
So is it really difficult?
From the experience I'm getting right now, it's difficult because you have to really swallow your fucking ego. Like, on a daily, these kids humble me, bro. They humble me on a regular basis. And it's just little shit that they don't even realize would be offensive or inappropriate to say. They'd be like, Auntie, do you have a job? I'm like, no. And they'd be like, but do you have money? And it's just, so it's like they ask me these questions and they say things that they don't even realize how society views these questions. And so I'm constantly having to humble myself and check in with myself to know, like, she's not trying to pick at you, like she's genuinely curious. And if I know her human design, I guaranteed you all these questions is a part of her design, like her human. Okay, I love the name human design because we're each uniquely designed. So fuck the chart. Like, even if you didn't have a chart, you can observe a child and be like, okay, they act like this and they act like this. Like, you can figure out their design.
Yep, for sure. For sure. I mean, even going back to the the idea of,
Yeah, you got the sniffles too, huh? You sound a
did
little
I
bit,
say?
no, like a little congested.
Oh, something, it's like just it's a little
Mm-hmm.
catch right in that
Mm-hmm.
little wind fight, and I gotta keep hitting. So the going back to the, and I think this is just because what I've heard before. This ain't really, I don't feel like I'm trying to be to myself what I didn't receive. I feel like I'm more being myself than others. You know what I mean? And in doing that, you are showing up as who your children or who anyone else who looks up to you needs. Is the sheer fact of, oh, the more I honor who I am that.
Yeah.
Because you're not being fake. You're not being something that you think you're supposed to be based on what everybody else says. So getting them little checks. I love children. I love that because that's who we are. And it's the complete authenticity, transparency of, if a child says it's cute, then an adult says it's offensive. That's stupid. That's the dumbest thing in the world. But that's how we operate in this society.
Oh, or the opposite of, like, when a child cusses or a teenager cusses, it's inappropriate, but an adult cusses and they can't. Like, something my mom did and my sister also allows is she lets her kids cuss. Like, if they want to say fuck, it's not the biggest fucking deal in the world, bro.
Right.
And my dad is like, can't you control them? And like, but it's not a thing. It's just allowing them to express themselves without censorship.
That's why I love Gary Vee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gary Vee is that's one of the realest white dudes in the history of, I mean, raw. I mean, and his responses are, he could be to somebody, don't you worry about, do you curse at your home? Yeah, fuck yeah. And he's like, I'm not concerned that my children say fuck. That's not going to end the world. I mean, he talks about his whole story because you're talking about saying a particular word. You're worried about this child saying this word, and instead of worrying about them learning how to live and be emotionally stable and do basic fundamental things as humans. We get so damn caught up in all that stuff, man. And it's not that, like, if you allow that to happen, they're just going to be all over the place. Because no, what happens is when you can't say all that stuff, they end up like that. You get this belligerent, just combative, fuck, that's all they can say.
Yep.
You know, like, no. When you add restriction, that's detrimental for anything in creation.
See, there is a difference between restriction and protection. And that's something I've come to learn co-parenting kids, is there are some things I restrict out of protection. Like for example, there's a rule that the kids can't go outside and play without letting me know. That's a restriction, but it's for their protection. Like, I need to know that they went outside and played with the kids down the street.
Is it their protection? Is it for their protection, or is it for your sense of fear for what possibly could happen?
I feel like it's both. Both, really, I do.
Of course, because you feel like it's for their protection.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if they were out in the wilderness, not tainted by society saying this is wrong, that's right, whatever, this is dangerous, that's not. We're aligned more as children with that guidance. So it's interesting because the idea of protection only comes from our own fear and some sense of danger. Whereas if I am, what are you protected from? If God is the center of you, and what do you need protection from?
Right. From yourself. Right.
Right.
And it's like, I agree with you, but the reason why it's both is because I'm interacting in a society that doesn't have that belief. So for me, it has to be both. Like, I'm just not going to take the risk of trusting God. And I don't care how fucked up that sounds. I don't care how fucked up that sounds. If you take your ass down the street, you better let me know.
Right. So I get it. And there's nothing wrong. There's nothing right or wrong about it. It's just the questions. That's why I asked those questions, because it is to provoke, like, oh, is that really the truth? Like, we say things and do things based on what we're taught, but is that really true? Like, is it true that this is going to happen, or this possibly could happen? Or is that just, because at the end of the day, guess what? The future and the past are all fiction.
Yeah.
And so if it's in the future, it's a lie. If it's in the past, it's a lie. Only now, in this present moment, are you in danger? Absolutely not. Am I projecting danger? Okay, yes, I'm creating that reality. And this is the world we live in, which is the beauty in it, because we can create all types of experiences for ourselves. And this is why we like to watch movies, because we like to be a little scared every once in a while. We like it's sexy to go through the struggle and do all that stuff. At least it is.
I've officially graduated from that program.
Yeah, trust me.
The struggle is not cute.
I promise you, I ain't about that life. Even though it's my desire, I got that gate. I felt some kind of way when I saw that. Like, fuck. Does that mean? Because it's like, oh, does that mean I gotta struggle through my life? It's not exactly what that means. Part of the superpower in it, because it's actually the tension, the cross of tension. What is it called? Right angle cross of tension.
Yeah.
All of that tied in. It's really in the midst of the chaos, I'm like this.
Yeah.
It's all good. Chill. I've always been that dude. Like, and some people are, you just nonchalant. No, there's no need for me to do all of this because somebody got to be.
Okay, so what are you like when you're in your not self?
Oh, I'm frustrated as hell.
But what does frustration look like for you?
Something connecting, or I'm running around doing all of this extra stuff that I don't feel like I need to be doing. Or even yesterday, when it's subtly, I can feel the differences in the intensity of it, which is part of integration and self-awareness. Is that, like yesterday, I have my computer migration assistant set up, and it was transferring, and I was like, well, this looks like it's going to be taking 24 hours at least. And it had already been, from the other day. And I've been looking online trying to find the Thunderbolt to go from this one to a USB-C Thunderbolt. I'm like, bro, this is something fucking simple. A simple code. What? I don't understand. Like searching, there is no such thing. Looking in forums, people having the same question. So I go try to find a different route. Oh, I can get this Ethernet adapter to Thunderbolt. Cool. They have one. Okay. I drive all over town, get this. Then I go over to try to find this Cat 6 at least Ethernet. I get home, unpackage the Thunderbolt. This is not it. This is the Thunderbolt 2 into the Ethernet. I already got that. Oh. And I said, I'm doing all of this. Just let the shit do what it's doing already.
Yep.
Because you know what I'm saying? It's already doing it. Just let it finish.
You could have been doing something else. You could have been
doing something
getting
else.
a pedicure, eating some popcorn. Like, you could have been doing anything else. You was running around.
Running around. So then, as I came out of that, I said, well, I didn't have to beat myself up about it. I said, well, I did want to just kind of get around, but I don't have to get around in frustration either.
Yeah.
I could have got around and done other stuff. So there's a sense of, doing the thing you're used to doing.
Yeah.
Is more like a habitual pattern. And I'm realizing that now. That's the thing. You catch yourself in these patterns of frustration. That's because that's what you're used to doing. You're used to getting frustrated. I've been somewhere one time where something happened and I couldn't even get mad, and I was laughing because I wanted to be mad.
Yeah.
Just so I could have a reaction. I was laughing at myself like, ain't that some shit?
Yeah. It reminds me of what I've been going through the last 2 fucking weeks with this fucking job that I got hired for. And it's a remote position, which will allow me to travel. Like, it's really what I've been wanting, but not what I want to do. So it's like, bitch, I already don't want to do it. I already don't want your ass, bitch. But oh God. Ouch. Ooh. It hurts. Okay. It's like, I already don't want this shit. But and then so then I just had a birthday. My ID expired on my birthday. So because it's remote, you have to verify all of your information via a Zoom call. And you can't have an expired ID. So she was like, as long as you do it on your birthday, then you're good to go. So I did that. I spent hours of my birthday running around, because you have to have an adult witness. So I had to get my homie to help me out on his lunch break. Like, it was fucking ridiculous.
Wow.
So I submit all of my documentation, and they said it's not going to work because it's expired. And I was like, bitch, I know. Y'all fucking told me. So I ended up getting a new ID. First of all, I ended up saying, fuck this shit. I was like, this job ain't for me. Blah, blah, blah. The universe don't want me to do it. And really, I was just frustrated and not operating in my authority. and I was blaming the job, or I was blaming the universe, saying the universe is testing me, or the universe doesn't want me to have it, so it made obstacles. No, you're just not operating in your human design. So what ended up happening was took my hands off. I said, fuck this shit. I got a call from an employee that was like, I know you've been having some trouble. I'm here to help you out. So she's like, look, there's another class starting for training a week from your original date. Go ahead and get your new ID and just send it to me directly, and I'll get you hooked up. If it was not for that phone call, I wouldn't, I was going to say, fuck this shit.
Wow.
So first of all, somebody places an order that ends up paying for the ID. So I was like, well, I don't have to ask my daddy for some money, even though I'm cool with asking my daddy for money, but I don't like doing it.
Right.
Just because you know what I'm saying, I'm fucking 29. But he likes giving me money. So it's also, I don't care. Like, he likes providing for me. So somebody ends up placing an order, the ID, I get the money for the ID. My dad ends up being off work the next day so he could give me a ride, so I don't have to worry about Ubers or catching a ride or doing whatever. So he takes me to the DMV. Tell me why I'm in and out of the DMV in 10 minutes. Nobody in the history of ever has gone to the DMV and was in and out in 10 minutes, ever. So it all fell together. I sent him my ID. They're like, cool, we got you. You start January 6th. I was like, okay. Like, and it wasn't until I just said, fuck this shit, and took my hands off that everything fell together. But here's my point was. My point was, to match your point, I could have just let it, I could have, like, that second class was always available. I could have just let them know, look, like, I need time to get my second ID. And they would have been like, that's okay, because there's another class starting the following week. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, that option was always there. And if I wouldn't have just frustrated myself and just let them know what was going on, I never had to experience all of that frustration. The solution was always there.
Yep. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's how things, that's how they click, literally. And that's why I say, if you don't know nothing else about human design, if you know your authority and your sign, like your not self and yourself, that's a big game changer right there. Because since I realized through human design that frustration is my not self, I remember the first time I did it, I sat back like, I'll be damned.
Yep.
I be in that shit a lot. And guess what? The most, doing this damn work that I ain't really want to do. Not necessarily that I don't like building or doing that, because I love anything, working my hands and creative, but the things that I put myself in are things that I wouldn't choose if I didn't feel I had to.
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
Story of my fucking life.
Right. So now it's like, okay, the whole purpose that I left Habitat and that environment was so that I can choose the things that I want to say yes to. But here I am putting myself in positions where I feel like I need this one because this bill is due, or that, and, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I already know that I'm not wanting to do it. So then I get to exercise, and I get to exercise the aspect of finding the beauty in everything. So instead of me being like, dang, I gotta do this, so I gotta go, like, oh, this is gonna be cool, because I guess I get to I ain't gotta do it by myself. I get to work with this person. And I was like, oh, you know what? I kind of like doing this part. And so I'll find the beautiful things in there, and encounter some frustrations along the way, of course, because it's not completely aligned with what it is that I want to do. And a lot of the frustration for me, what I figured out is that it's in what I'm doing now, I don't get to exercise my genius.
Yeah.
And if I find a slight opportunity, it's very small, and it's not like in an environment that is reciprocal of that in a way that I know that I've experienced before, like this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Where I can fully express the things that come through and not just me doing rote routine things that don't require me to even engage,
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where some of that frustration comes.
And I believe the goal is not to end all frustration. Like how you said about going back to the name change, the goal isn't to take all the negatives out of your name. It's just to be strategic and align them up. Like, pick your frustration. I got the job because it's like, I feel like I'm picking my struggle. Like, which way you want to struggle? Either way.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, it's not about ending the frustration, because the frustration is what helps define the satisfaction, and it makes the satisfaction sweeter. If I had everything handed to me and I never had to work for anything in my life, I wouldn't appreciate it from the same
Right.
point of view.
Right.
So yeah, I've been becoming friends with resistance. I started working out with my family, and I was consistent, like doing it every day, every day, every day. And it's to the point now where I like that burning sensation. I really like it. I'm a little bit masochist, I think is the word. But um so I like hurting myself. I do. And it's like, to feel that burn and to be friends with it and not run from it, and to just like breathe through it. I'm really liking this process. And then the after effect, like, my vibration is physically higher after a workout. And for the first time since I started, I woke up looking forward to hurting myself. And I
Wow.
was like, "Ooh, yeah, like, I can't wait." It wasn't like I can't wait to work out to get to the end result. It was, I can't wait to feel the burn, because now
Right.
my mind is associating the burn with the high vibrating feeling afterwards.
Right. That's powerful. And I think that speaks to our relationship with what we consider to be pain. We
Yep.
only, even when because I'm sun all the way.
Yeah.
Sun, hot, heat, give it to me.
Me
I
too.
love it. You
Me
know what I'm
too.
saying? I ain't never been the cold dude. And even though I'm born in January, but the interesting part about it is in just a random situation, this is going back to the storyteller and our like desire to have experiences. So when I'm at Habitat and we got some volunteers and it's one of them January cold days, I got on 5 layers wrapped up. I'm standing out there as everybody getting out. I'm like, this is like, man, I hate the cold. And as I'm doing that, because this is the feeling I feel when it's cold in the winter, if I feel like I'm tense up,
Yeah.
all the time. As I'm standing there doing that, like, didn't nobody ask me that shit. I'm just randomly giving information that I don't like the cold.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's very interesting, because I'm sitting here in this relationship with, I have to be in it, and I have this relationship again. I don't like it, and so that kind of even looking at Wim Hof and people that do the ice plunge, I kind of dove into that, and I never did a cold shower or anything. I said, you know what, I'm gonna experience this. Because I was looking at all of the benefits, and
Right.
here's where the people won't do certain things to experience the pleasure. They won't go through a certain amount of pain. But I did, and I remember I had my phone and I recorded. I did the cold shower. I turned it on and I didn't just try to ease myself in.
Mhm.
I went in and I was all of that. And the things you could expect, tensing up. And as I got there, it started to mellow out and my body started acclimating. So I was in there, then the breathing kind of calmed down.
Yeah.
Afterwards, oh my God, I was electric. Like, I got out and I was warm. Like I didn't feel cold. It was still cold. And I remember going, because after the shower, I remember going outside with a t-shirt on. I went to where I was going to go get something to eat or whatever. And I had a t-shirt on and felt fine.
Yeah.
I said, this is deep.
Yeah.
So I changed my relationship with the cold in that I'm not cold. I can feel the cold. It's cold outside. So when I switched that in my mind, now every morning I go outside, not throw a coat on because I'm not cold. I go ahead and feel the cold on my skin. My whole core is still warm. And then it can be invigorating. So it's not a painful thing. And then I literally can move and not be like this. And then I can feel the subtle shift if there's a little bit of moisture that shifts in the atmosphere because it goes in deeper. And I'm like, oh, this is not colder, but it's the moisture. Oh, it's such a beautiful thing now that, to do that. Not saying I don't get cold. I still get cold, but my relationship with it is a lot different.
Yeah. That's dope. That's really beautiful. When I be in the shower, I be looking at the cold thing, the faucet. I be like, not today.
Not today. Yep.
I can't do it.
I still do it. I still do that. Every once in a while, I'll be like, nah. I'm just feeling this good old toasty water,
I'm all scrubbed down, like, nah, bruh. I can't do it. But I do, sometimes when I let my dog out, I'll go out there with him. And I just like to be present with the spirit of winter. Winter teaches a very powerful lesson. I think I just shared a video about the medicine of winter and how it teaches you to let go. And I believe I heard Wim Hof talking about how when you're in the cold, you're not thinking about your bills or the future or whatever. You're thinking about surviving in this now moment. And that's part of why cold exposure is such a powerful tool, because it forces you to be present. And I definitely think that type of aggressive pressure to be present is vital, and it's necessary for a lot of people, especially if they've never practiced presence before. But I can tell I'm kind of changing internally to where I want to be more gentle and compassionate with myself, and not wanting to force myself to be present. And I want to like learn how to soothe myself there. That's like, for example, the working out every day. I've been consistent for the first time ever in my life, ever, because I didn't push myself too hard. Like, I chose a 15-minute workout that was a little bit intense, but I knew I could do it. And I just did it every day until it got boring. And then I picked a little bit harder of a workout. And then I did that every day until it gets boring. So I'm in this mode of just compassion and gentleness and not pushing myself to get somewhere, because really once you get there, there is no there. There's only here, and there's nowhere to get to. None of it never matters where you are. It's just about what the fuck do you want, bro? Like, this is, what do you want? Go for it.
What do you want?
Yeah.
I literally just saw, probably, I think it was yesterday actually, a guy, because you're talking about working out. This guy on Joe Rogan podcast, they were talking about Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and because he does all this training. He said you're not supposed to, if you feel sore after a workout, you're doing too much.
You did too much, right?
Yeah. And he's like, even if you haven't worked out at all before, say yeah, because the idea is that's a trauma response. That soreness is a trauma response to damage.
Oh, wow.
the better thing for someone, especially if you're training someone, you don't want to get to a point where you're battling pain to go to the next day. I want you to work out the next day. So if you're in pain, now you got to go through pain, feeling pain, and then do all of that. Whereas if you have a 10 rep max, and meaning you could not do, if somebody held a gun to you, more than that. No, you don't do that when you go work out. You do 5.
Right.
Right. And then do 5 the next day, and 5 the next day, and 5. And so the consistency of that is at the end of 3 months, at the end of 6 months, a year, you have done this small amount because you've maxed out and done all this and you think it's intense. Whereas I've gotten way more hours of training in at the end of the year. And so that creates this neurological pathway of power and growth.
Yeah.
Whereas now you're not doing this back and forth battling trauma, pain, suffering, and all that stuff. But that's the mindset we think we have to go, no pain, no gain. You have to suffer. And that's not the case. And it makes all the sense in the world, because when I think about when I've trained and done something, and then I'll stop and not go hard, and I don't feel sore, and then I go do it again another day, I feel alive. You shouldn't be beat down.
Yeah.
If you're training to strengthen, you shouldn't feel weaker.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, you should, like you said, you feel invigorated. You can't wait to go back the next day, you know?
And that release of pressure came when I just wanted to be consistent. I didn't care about trying to look a certain way or trying to lose a certain amount of pounds. Like, I just want to be consistent. I want to literally change my lifestyle. I want to break this cycle in my family. Like, my family is very passive. And then I see these other families, they go to the park every Saturday and they do tennis or they do soccer. Like, they have these active lifestyles. And I'm like, babes, no, my family is going to be active. Me and my kids are going to be doing all kind of shit. And it starts with me becoming this person now, not once I have a child, then all of a sudden I start this active lifestyle. No, that's not going to work. But I was able to release the pressure when I stopped trying to focus on the outcome, and I just fell in love with the process of becoming a new person. I mean, the process of having a new lifestyle. But that all started with, I was able to stop trying to look a certain way when I fell in love with the way that I look now. Like, babes, she's gorgeous. Body, gorgeous. Everything, right. And and it's crazy because I've always been beautiful. But it's like I had fucking something on my eyeballs. Something was on my eyeballs and I couldn't see myself. It's like I had a distorted view in the mirror. And like, my sister just sent me some pictures from Christmas like 12, 13 years ago. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I was always beautiful. And that was like 12, 13 years ago is when I had the worst self-esteem. So it was like, I was always beautiful. I just couldn't see it. And now that I've remembered who I am and I can see myself for who I am, there's no pressure for me to force my body to hurt or damage, like you said, just to look a certain way, to keep up with bitches that don't even have half my fucking heart. Like, yeah, having this type of body is cool, but what about your heart, bro? Like, what kind of person are you? So when I started to just see myself for who I really am, the distorted vision cleared up, and now we have sunshine and clear skies. And now I can see myself from a place of power versus from a place of just not enough. Like I feel like the people who really push themselves, like, I don't know, I just feel like it's from a place of you're not enough, so you have to try really hard to get to this other place. But now is good. Now, this now moment is really fucking awesome.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
It is. It is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
Be sure to come back next week for another episode of Sacred Sound Expressions.